Hello and welcome to another episode of Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. I'm your host, Stephanie McPhail, and my co-host, Steve Vaccaro, is out today doing all of his great work out in the community. So hopefully he will be on next week. But I am excited to be able to introduce Leigh Blanchard, who'll be our guest today. So welcome, Leigh. Come on to the show.
Hi, it's good
Hi.
to be here.
I'm glad you are. So tell us all about, I love being able to have, new guests share their perspectives and really inspire people to really heal and step into their power and learn what else is available to them if they're needing some extra support. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, I'm a licensed nurse in the Baton Rouge area, and I'm also just completing a course for freedom from self-sabotage. So I learned how to be a coach and help people that are going through a lot. I'm also have been doing Reiki for many years now. And I recently got trained by Young Living to do essential oil techniques, healing with essential oils. So I have a few different modalities that I work with.
Awesome. So tell us what got you so interested in obviously there's a before all of this training stuff. So what got you so interested in learning about all of this?
Yeah, I've always been interested in that type of thing, the metaphysical, but I had some experiences years ago. I was actually married to a narcissist, and so I'm actually a survivor of narcissistic abuse. So right now I'm wanting to reach out to people that might be going through that or have gone through that and want to heal, because I did a lot of healing through a lot of different ways. I did holographic memory resolution. I did the flotation tanks. I did massage therapy. So I've been able to use the healing that I've gone through to help others. So
it sounds like it was really difficult for you to move past the narcissistic abuse. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
yeah, it really all started very slowly. We were married for 11 years. We officially got married in 2004. And my son was born not too long after that. And we would be moving like different places. And I didn't realize it at the time, but he was, trying to move me away from family and friends. Um, so we have been divorced now. I finally left at the end of 2015. So it's been almost 9 years. So any day that I have that is a narc-free day is a good day. So I'm happy to be, away from that relationship. That type of relationship is just no way to live, really.
Did you start noticing early on that there was something off with the relationship, or did it come as a surprise that things were not, that, it was just not healthy?
Well, it took a while for a lot of his more darker personality traits to start coming out. And that was really like the last 3 years we were married. He had like a medical problem where he had something wrong with his heart. So he had actually gotten surgery, like an open heart surgery at that point. And after that is really when it changed. And that was about 5 years before I divorced him. And he just started to really turn on the abuse. And then like the last 3 years were the worst years. And then the last 3 months were the worst months.
So were things good before he got sick with a heart condition, or was it?
Well, there was like little manipulations and trying to keep him from my family and things like that. And just a lot of kind of more like covert narcissism, but it became more overt towards those last few years. Like I have a family that was living down south, and I was living in New England with him. And just for example, one Christmas, he was angry at me for taking the kids and myself to Christmas down in Louisiana. And I remember getting home, and he would do things like, he started to do things like this. He took the Christmas tree. He took all the ornaments off of it. I had a friend that had given me some handmade ornaments from Romania. And he took all the ornaments, he threw them in the trash so that they would be mixed up with the garbage. He threw the tree outside with the lights and everything still on it. And it snowed there. So the thing was covered with snow. And I was really upset with him whenever it happened. So I remember, saying, "Why did you do that?" And when I said that, he went and got the trash, the bag of trash, and he dumped the whole thing in my room. So he would do little things like that would just get more and more, just very cruel things like that started to become more and more present. And at one point, I was such a nervous wreck all the time. I actually broke out in hives all over my arms. So, I mean, there were like physical things going on with me that sort of manifested themselves because of what I was going through. And I had 2 small children too at the time. So at the point that I left the relationship, the boys were 9 and 11 years old. So it was getting to the point where they were, witnessing things that weren't really very good for their mental health either. So that's when things got really bad in 2015. And that's when I had to make the decision to let my family know and friends know what was going on with me and try to get like an escape plan because these people don't let you go easily. And I know that a lot of people use the term narcissist to describe somebody that's a jerk, but this goes beyond somebody that's just a jerk. This is serious. Like, it's a serious situation. It's not always easy to leave these type of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your story of having him like throw all the garbage in your room. My ex-husband woke me up, I think at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, turned the lights on while I was dead asleep, and took the junk drawer and threw it on the floor and made me clean it up.
Oh my gosh.
For no reason. Like, so these are the kinds of things that it's like this playbook. It's awful how much is manipulation and keeping you on your toes, and you're afraid for, you don't know what's going to happen next. And that can give you a lot of anxiety. Did you ever tell anyone that you were going through that, or were you trying to keep it a secret from friends and family?
I was trying to keep it a secret for many years because it was embarrassing, but like I felt ashamed, and then there were a lot of people like that were a friend of mine, and they'd come into the picture and they would see how my husband was treating me, and they would just lose total respect for me. And then they would kind of just leave out the picture. But it got to the point where I knew something was wrong. And about in 2014, about a year before we split up, I started to kind of look around on the internet, and there really wasn't a lot of information about narcissistic abuse back then. There was just starting to be a few people. There was somebody named Serena Nightshade, and then there was another gentleman who himself was a narcissist. His name was Sam Vorkin. And I started to look at their videos, and it started to kind of ring some bells like, hey, this might be what's going on with my ex and our relationship. And so then I started to kind of look into it more. And a lot of times the narcissist will keep you really busy. Like, I found myself really taking on all the responsibilities of the household, and he just kind of went on vacation. So the narcissist sometimes will keep you busy so that you don't really have the time to look into anything. And I remember I was planning on divorcing him, and I bought a book from Amazon, and it was called like how to proceed with a divorce. Well, he ended up finding the book and was not very happy about that, and he was, really letting me have it after that. That's when things really like intensified. I can recall one time when my children went down south to visit their family. I can recall being alone with him at the house, and I had gone through all my things, and I had done a lot of organizing and things that I didn't really have time to do when the children were around. And I remember having like a stack of papers or something that I got rid of, and actually went outside and burned the papers. Well, I came back in, and I was just so happy, to get rid of all the clutter and everything. And he was just furious. He was telling me all kinds of things like, "Oh, you're going to have to, I'm not leaving. You're the one that's going to have to leave. I'm kicking you out of the house." He took all my belongings and proceeded to throw them down the stairs because we had a basement then. And he threw all my belongings down the stairs. And that's when he started to get threatening. And that's when physical abuse was starting to become a little bit more common. It really just started off as little things like him digging his fingernails into my arms and things like that. But by the time it got that bad, I started to kind of see the writing on the wall, and I realized, hey, it's time to start being honest with myself and the people that know me and love me. So
now, when you were making your plan to leave, were you someone, I know for some women, the plan is even just trying to figure out how you're going to make it financially. Was that one of the issues you had to deal with also with 2 young kids, especially?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. And to complicate the matters of me trying to leave him, we were in business together. We had a business that we owned together. So it was really like, I was really in pretty deep with him and the life that we had built together. I remember calling somebody like a domestic violence hotline, and I told the woman my story, a shortened version of it. And the woman on the other line started crying, and she was just like, wow, it really sounds like you two had a life together, that, so it was a lot. And I ended up going back to school to become a nurse. I needed really something sure that was, that I could get a job in. So.
And nursing school is pretty intense to go through. Like everyone I talk to that's a nurse, like they're very smart people to be able to do that, and the level of intensity with also having small children. I wonder if there was ever a part of you that maybe was hoping that he was going to go back to being the person he was when you got married.
Oh, definitely. I waited around years for that person, but that person was really nowhere to be found towards the end. And it was quite scary.
I'm sure. And, I find that in my practice, nurses, doctors, PAs, medical field in general, so common for people in the medical field to deal with for too long, these toxic types of relationships. And it just seems like overly empathetic people, especially when they have no boundaries, tend to be more prone to these types of toxic relationships. Have you found that in your practice that you're finding a lot of people also in the medical field that are going through this?
Not so much. But yeah, there is definitely a lot of, in the nursing field, there is a lot of burnout and emotional things that, we deal with that we see on a daily basis. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I definitely find it would be interesting. And, I for a little while we were toying with, like, should we only work with people in the medical field, because it was so common for them to be in toxic relationships. And of course, if there's toxicity going on at work, very often if someone's dealing with that, that's also they're dealing with it at home as well. And it just kind of adds on to it. So after you left, I think that's the scary thing for people, is like, I'm going to have to go back and get another career. I'm going to have to make money. And because of all these fears that come up, they stay stuck longer. What would you say to someone who might be afraid to leave because of finances or the kids or whatever else they're telling themselves that they're not going to be able to make it for?
You just have to find the faith to leave. And I know it's easier said than done. And I put it off for 3 years, but the situation just kept getting worse and worse. And after a while, it's like the outcome of staying is going to be worse than anything that, like not having any money,
yeah,
like it really boils down to your safety and your peace of mind, and no amount of money can really replace that. So
100%. You figure it out. As scary as it is, and as much as you don't want to do it because it's overwhelming, you figure it out. And I find that a lot of people, it's not as hard as they think it's going to be, because they've been dealing with this toxic person, draining all their energy every single day and still accomplishing whatever they're accomplishing. Imagine how much easier it is once you have the drainer away, and then you can just do the things you need to do.
Oh, absolutely. Being a single parent, for so many years, I felt like when we were together, I was even a single parent. I was the only one that brought the boys to anything for school. And I was somewhat involved with the school and their school life. And it just felt like really lonely, because it felt like I didn't even have a partner, but I did. But the partner that I had, I had only so much energy to give in a day. And, the boys took a lot of that. And then having him around, the narcissist around, was almost like having a third child. And
oh yeah, they're even more needy than a child.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think your kids were negatively affected by what was going on for them at home?
I think the older one was a little bit more than the younger one.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be because he has more memories of the situation, because he was 11 years old when I left him. And they say that, our personalities are formed by the time we're 7.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of the negative influences. And then he has some form of autism. So it sort of hasn't been that great of a combination. We're still working on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the biggest thing for you after you left? Was there, you obviously started down this journey of healing. So talk us through that a little bit. You left, you went back to school, and then what, you were still feeling anxious, or what was your feelings afterwards that you're like, I need to go try some more support, some more help to heal?
Well, when I first left, it wasn't like, things weren't very normal for a while. And I had about a year before I started going back to school. So I had about a year where I was in really intense therapy with a therapist. And that lasted for about 9 months. And then after that, I started to go back to school very slowly. And it was just like around that time when it was just going to therapy, a lot of my family members were thinking that I wasn't going to be able to cope with life without getting on some type of antidepressants. So I had to kind of battle with that. And that's when I started to try all these other alternative therapies, because I don't think that me being on antidepressants was really going to solve anything. I didn't want to get into the same situation again.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to really and truly heal. So that is why I tried the other modalities of healing, and they all added together. And over the years, it wasn't like an overnight healing because I had been with him so long. We were married for 11 years, and we dated for about a year or two before we married. So it was a long journey, but it was definitely worth it all.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they go through, these types of just super toxic relationships, and then they go through the divorce. So you're in it, you realize you're in it, and then you're like, oh God, I need to get myself out of this, and it's so much effort to think about getting out of it. Then you actually go through the divorce, and then all the stress that comes with that. And I think a lot of people want to believe that after they get that divorce, like, oh, I'm done. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Like everything's going to be great. But I find time and time again, that's actually where the real work starts to happen. So as much as, and I don't want anyone who's listening is like, oh my God, I'm in the very beginning, all of this. I don't want you to think like, oh my gosh, and I shouldn't do this. I'll just stay in it because there's so much work. You have to think of it like a marathon. There's like, you're going to keep going, or maybe an ultra marathon. Maybe that's even better of it. You're going to keep going, but at a point, this will end. Getting the right support is going to help it make sure that it ends more quickly than if you try to figure it out on your own. This hypervigilance or hyperindependence, I should say, of like, I'm going to take care of this on my own. I don't want anyone to know. This embarrassment, this shame, all that does is keep us in ourselves and doesn't get us to where we need to be. And I mean, obviously, you did so much, and whatever else, still stress and the memories, all those things that are still there. You've done a lot of work and got support for all of that. Imagine had you been like, I'm not going to talk about it and just try to figure it out on my own, it would be so much worse off. And I think, anyone who's listening to this right now, like really understand that it's not that there's something wrong with you, that you can't figure it out on your own. You're a human being who's just been through trauma. Trying to figure it out on your own it just doesn't make any sense. It's trying to heal from something that's so unimaginable from someone that you loved so much that you really do need that extra support. What would you say to someone, Leigh, that's currently struggling and saying, maybe I can't get any better. Maybe things are just going to always be this way. Maybe I'm just broken. What would you say to them?
I think the answer is to start with wherever you are, to start with self-love. And realizing that nobody has to live with that. Nobody has to be put through that. No one should be put through that. And you deserve better. So if you are not in a place where you can actually get up and leave right now, I think starting with the self-love is the best way to go to start.
So now at what point did you decide, after you went to nursing, after you started doing your healing, at what point did you say to yourself, I need to help other people?
I think maybe, I think I've always wanted to help people, but particularly like in nursing, I see that a lot of people's physical problems are caused by like the way they think. And sometimes people are just lonely. Like, sometimes we see people in the hospital repeatedly, and we would call them frequent flyers. But these people had, not grown up in the best, with the best family life, and maybe they don't have anybody. So a lot of that, you see a lot of that in the medical field. And so, yeah, because the physical is affected by the mental. So
100% agreed. And it is amazing. I share all the time. I had more health issues in my early to mid 30s than I do currently in my mid 40s, and the biggest difference is just being out of that toxicity and really making sure I'm taking care of myself and doing what I need to do. And that was all just from working on myself. So tell us a little bit. We're getting close already to the end. It always flies by so fast. Tell us a little bit about, or actually, what is anything you'd like to maybe share with people who are viewing this, maybe a last bit of advice or, something to kind of help motivate them wherever they are in their journey?
I think besides the self-love that I mentioned earlier, I think talking or you don't even have to talk to them directly. Just watch some videos of some survivors, and it really helps whenever people point out the techniques and stuff that these narcissists use to gaslight people and really just torment them emotionally. It helps when you realize that this is like a psychological issue with them, and there's nothing wrong with you, and you're a good person, because you might have heard over and over that you're a bad person. And I know that my narc would always tell me things like, for example, like when I was around the time I was leaving him, when things got really bad, there was this is kind of a really strange story. Okay. There was a spider's web in the laundry room, not far from where his room was. And there was like a firefly that got caught in the spider's web. And at the time that I was going through a lot and really like upset and really just going through absolute hell with him, when he got really controlling towards the end, and he looked at me and he said, "I'm the firefly and you're that spider." And he always would make himself look like the victim. They have a really good way of doing that. So my advice is to get as much information as you can about your situation.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And they do. They love to turn things around. And it's all your fault. If you would have only done this, I wouldn't have behaved this way. So they love to do that kind of manipulation. So tell us how people can follow you. You're doing some great work now. You're helping other people and sharing your knowledge. How can people get a hold of you and follow your work?
Yes, my website is called lifeplusu.com. And then my Instagram is lifeplusu Reiki. And I also have a Facebook page. And that's also called Life Plus You.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, and you're in Louisiana, so you're not all that far away from me. All over here in Texas.
That's right. I'm in the Baton Rouge area.
Oh yeah, very cool. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. Leigh, thank you so much for sharing, your raw story and sharing all that overcoming. I know how difficult it is when you're in it, and how difficult it is when you're out of it and wondering, can I change? Can I heal? And again, anyone who's watching this, obviously Leigh was able to leave and create something new and now helps other people. I love watching people really thrive. So thank you, Leigh, for coming in and hanging out with us today. Thank you, everybody, for watching us. And